Welcome back to Attitude Effort Results presented by Teamwork Online and the Clubhouse. I'm your host, Tanner Natzke. Today, we are going to pretty much come through this camera today, come through this microphone today. I got a pretty good feeling we're going to have an energetic, upbeat episode today. The reason being is I have an absolute killer on the other side of the camera today. Very excited to introduce him. However, don't want to steal his thunder. So I'm going to let him do that, and then we are going to jump into the episode today, really providing value for you personally, professionally, and today a little physical education as well for everybody out there looking to learn about that. So I'll kick it over to you, Angelo. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and then we'll jump in.
Tanner, man, thank you so much. Been a fan of the show for a while. I've been in sports my entire career, 20 years at the same place, which anybody listening to your show knows your journey. It's an eternity in a sports job. Nobody does that. And I'll talk about why a little bit later, but I found a good spot. I liked it. I do have my eyes out for other opportunities, but I found the right position for me for the last 2 decades, so it's kind of worked. Real quick, I come a little bit different than most of your guests. You guys focus on the business of sports, which is obviously super important and allows us to do the things we love to do in the athletic world. But my role for the last 25 years has been more in the physical side of things. So I've been a strength and conditioning coach since about the year 2000, it's 2025 now, and I've been in Seton since 2005. So if listeners don't know, my job is basically making sure our student athletes are ready to play in the Big East Conference. Now, that might be injury prevention, it might be return to play protocols, it might be just getting bigger, stronger, faster, better conditioned, whatever it is. And we can get into that as much as you want to think your listeners will like to hear about. But it's a position everybody kind of knows, right? The men who have my job at the bigger schools, at the NFL, NBA level, they have decent social media followings. They write books like I do. They put their information out there, which I think is great. I think it's awesome. But again, it's a little bit different side of the game. We're kind of more in the basement, whereas most of your guests are more the front office, C-suite kind of thing. But I think as far as dealing with players, and if you want to be involved in athletics for a career, if you like the idea of dealing with the players and dealing with making people physically better, it's really, in my opinion, the place to be.
I love that. So tell me a little bit about, you've obviously the career path is massive, but you are not just about the career path. You're about helping people, and that's why we're here today, to help others. Tell me a little bit about the passion that you have for helping people succeed, helping people grow, and then roll that into a little bit of, obviously the books that you guys are part of.
Cool. So the first thing I try to do, and it's a cliche, but I think it's true. You want to be for the younger generation what you needed when you were them, right? And I got pretty lucky. I had a bunch of good mentors, good people I work with in the athletics world that kind of, I've been able to work for 25 years, never been unemployed for any real length of time, which is, again, kind of rare in our profession if there's no real gaps in employment. But I think the thing I try to do is I bring interns on every semester. I'm pretty active in the National Strength and Conditioning Association, where I put on events for people. I'm the New Jersey State Director, so I put on events. And I try to look at it from, if I was in college and I was thinking about getting out and breaking in the sports profession, what would I need to do? So I think networking is super important. So all the events I put together, there's always a networking component. I try to link someone who's been in the field for 20 years, someone who's been in the field for 2 months, and let them have a conversation, right? The other thing I try to do is provide opportunities for as many people as possible, because sports industry jobs are in a weird place right now. I feel like for every opening, we might get 100 applications. I'll talk about why it is a little bit later, but it's incredibly competitive, right? So if you get a chance to intern somewhere or just even shadow a person in the profession, that number one will let you know if you really want to do it. And number two might be a professional connection that gets you the next. If it's an internship, that gets you next graduate assistantship. That gets you your next entry level position, and then that cascades to the next parts of your career. So I think if I can be the open a door to as many people as possible, I think that's how we all get better, right? I always think when students come to me, the more aggressive and hungry they are, the more I want to help them, right? Like I deal with some kids that it's their senior year. They email me the day before the semester. I was like, hey man, I need an internship to graduate college. Can you help me out? Now listen, if I can and I got a spot, we'll work with that man or woman, right? But if somebody hits me up their freshman year of college and is like, hey, I want to do what you do. I'm on a full course load. I got a night job and I want to come and see what you do in the weight room for 6 hours a week that I got free. I can't wait to help that young man or woman, right? And I think that's one thing. If you want to show potential mentors or people in your profession that you're serious about it, be aggressive and hit them up as early as you can. If for no other reason than this, I think if you're a college student right now, you're going to be, let's say you have 8 semesters and 4 summers for your undergrad experience, right? You could theoretically intern in 12 different places and have 12 references on your resume and 12 coaching trees, if you will, or business trees of people that can help you out and secure that first job out of college, right? If you don't intern anywhere, if you only do one because you have to, now you're praying that one person, number one, wants to help you, and number two, has the connections to help you at all. You might latch your wagon to the wrong star, and that person can't help you. So I think the biggest thing is just cast a wide net, get as many experience as you can, and then when the time comes, have the biggest network you can and keep growing that throughout your career.
I got to tell this guy to stop weed whacking over here. Hang on. I'll cut it, but that was great. That's why I put myself on mute. I'm like, dude, can we not do that? Let me go tell this guy. Sorry. All right. He's going to go to the other side now, so that's good.
I appreciate that.
All right, I'll edit all that out, and I will start here with another question. So, cool. Hey, guys, I told you it was going to be good today. I told you it was going to be good. We're starting off with a rocket. I'm excited to continue to learn more about the athlete side of college. And you talk about the business, right, of like how can you help people grow? How can you help people get into the business side, which is great. I want to learn a little bit from the athlete side. If I'm a college athlete, the stigma is I don't have enough time. The stigma is, I'm traveling across country. I don't have enough time. You've been around athletes your whole life. What are some of the things outside of the sport itself that you've seen people find success in when trying to get roles in the business world, and some things that you've seen like, hey, that was pretty detrimental to the kid's success?
I think the biggest thing is planning, right? I always say, well, one thing people in my profession, strength coaches, do really well is we periodize our training, our athletes' training, right? Off season, we do X, in season, we do Y, summer, we do Z, whatever it might be, right? I think everybody can benefit from periodizing their life, right? If you're a college football player, the idea of you doing anything professionally in, let's say, August, September, October, November is probably unrealistic. If we're going to be realistic, right? You're doing class and you're going to football, and that's your life for 4 months. Now, when you get to December, can you maybe do some kind of internship, take a short session of school, whatever it might be in December and January? Depending on the school you're at, that's possible, right? But I think look big picture, and the thing I'm seeing now in the NIL transfer portal area is, and the reason that led to the book the next 4 years, and hopefully we'll talk about it a little bit later, everyone's thinking what's right in front of them, right? And I think for 90% of college student athletes, it should be a long-term thought process. And what I mean is this. Unless you're a football or basketball player and there's millions of dollars on the line, life-changing NIL deals, if that's your scenario, you should get every penny you can. Get the bag, like the kids say. Dude, if putting it off your $1 million and you're 19, you're a fool not to take it. Tanner, we could agree with that, right? But
Fair.
if you're not in that scenario, right, and you're a college baseball player and you're thinking about transferring because you're going to get more playing time at the next university, but they don't have the major you want, that's a silly decision to me, right? Because you're playing baseball. In most cases, if you're not a major leaguer, by the time you're 22, 23, that's kind of wrapped up, and now you got to make a living. And if your degree isn't something you don't want to do, you really put yourself behind the 8 ball, right? The other thing I think the student athlete at Seton Hall particularly, we're right outside of New York City, we recruit nationally, right? But the kids that do the best, they stay around in the summer and intern in the city in the summers, right? So what I do as a strength coach, I think it's Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I usually bring a group in at 6 a.m. to the weight room. It might be like 3 swimmers, 2 baseball, 3 volleyball players, and we train and we get out of there by 7 and they take a train to the city intern all day, right? And I think that's the very least I could offer to help. If they're going out of the way to stay on campus and do an internship in the city to spark their career in the finance world, there it might be, we got to train early in the morning. That's easy for me, right? And then we'll train our basketball guys later in the day, and the kind of day cascades from there in the summer. But I think take advantage of that summer wherever you want to be. Get involved in the community there. We're really lucky that it's New York City and the financial capital of the world, if you will. But if it's Phoenix, if it's Miami, if it's a small town, go meet some people in the business world, do some internships, and if you have a summer off, go make use of it. Everybody loves going home. Everybody loves the pool. I grew up at the Jersey Shore. I love the beach. But go to the beach on the weekend and do the internship Monday to Friday.
In addition to that, from what I'm hearing you say, preparation. People come, you said that the guy or girl at the end of like, hey, I need an internship to graduate. I'll have people come and be like, hey, so it's May, right? And I think I should start thinking about my job. Like, okay, like when you graduate, when you starting? Well, most people typically start around June or July. You're like, oh my goodness. Can we not prepare a little bit, right? Can we not treat college like a job and go win jobs early in your career? Also, I think people are just lazy, and I've said this multiple times on my show. I love lazy people because it makes me look a lot better, because I'm not that great at what I do, but lazy people around the world, people that are not willing to go the extra mile, make our lives a little bit easier. But there are people out there that are listening, and most people listening, I assume they have at least some sort of similar mindsets of, I need to go do more. I need to go create opportunities. And right now, what you're saying is summer internships. Hey, instead of a summer internship or a job or something, or instead of just sitting in and going back to the golf course and going back and working at your mom and dad's shop, right? What can I do to put myself ahead in the city or at the school that I'm currently at? Because investing in that time right now will pay dividends, not right now, but it will pay dividends down the road. It seems like that's something that you found pretty successful over your career so far with students.
100%. And one thing I think this might be a little younger than most of your listeners, but if you're a prospective student athlete, right, this is kind of my wheelhouse, do your research before you sign a scholarship offer, right? So just for example, if you want to go to, let's say, St. John's, it's right in New York City, and you want to play basketball, and you want to major in finance, right? Theoretically, that is a great career path because you're right in the middle of the financial world while you're an undergrad, right? But if you go down the online rabbit hole and find out no basketball player in 50 years of St. John's basketball has been able to major in finance, you're probably not going to be the first one, right? So I think you got to be upfront about it and see what's offered and see what coach you're willing to work with. And you got to understand your priorities a little bit too, right? If you're going to the NBA, let's be real, your major doesn't matter. If you're going to a 9 to 5, your major matters a lot, and you got to clear the air and get that out there in the very beginning and look at what's really offered and look at, the joke I always make, but it's true. College coaches that I've dealt with are not liars. They are salesmen and women, and they're really good at it sometimes, right? So just keep in mind that you're being sold a product, which is your college education, and they want you to go there. And, I don't say they're not lying, but they're showing you the best side of everything. And then it's your responsibility to figure out, is this possible? Is it true? Is there a way to make this actually work? If I'm a swimmer, can I be an education major? Is my coach going to let me go do student teaching or whatever it might be, right? And that's just the thing, you got to get out up front early, because if you don't, those are the kids that end up the most unhappy. They ask the wrong questions on the recruiting trip. They come under the one ideal set of circumstances. It's not what they signed up for, what they thought they signed up for. And in the transfer portal era, they're gone right away, right? The other thing, real quick, I love lazy people because it makes people like us look better. I like your opinion on this too. I think if you're that kind of lazy college student that's not thinking about a job until April or May of your senior year, if you want to get in a profession that every year hires thousands of new people, that's probably okay, right? So if you want to try to be a salesman, if you want to be a teacher, if you want to be a police officer, these are great jobs, but there's hundreds of thousands of opportunities every year people coming out of school, right? If you want to do something competitive like sports, that is a completely different animal, right? Like I said before, if I have a job open in my department, we get 100 applications in the first couple of days. And one thing I like your audience to kind of hear this too, is kind of my soapbox for the last couple of years. the sports industry has grown exponentially in the last 20 years, 25 years, from 2000 until now. And in my profession, the medical side of it, probably even more than the rest of it, right? But if you look at, I'll take my job and we'll use the NBA since you're, an NBA person, NBA fan. I guess a lot of your fans are. When I graduated in 2000, when I became a strength and conditioning coach, there were 30 NBA coaches, 30 NBA strength and conditioning coaches. Every team had one strength coach, right? About 2010, they created an assistant, so now there's 60, and then they made the G League, so now there's 90. So there's roughly 90 NBA jobs in the world for what I do, right? In the same 25 years where they tripled the amount of jobs available, colleges across the country started programs for exercise science, sports management, kinesiology, cardiac rehab, and let thousands of undergrads into those programs, right? So the bottom of that pyramid has grown exponentially, while the top of the pyramid has grown incrementally. And that's why we're in a situation now, at least in my side of things, if I would have quit my job in 2007, a dozen people might apply. If I quit my job in 2025, 100 people apply. And that's just what you're dealing with in the sports world. That's how competitive it is and why relationships and connecting the dots and then being the best candidate, right? Knowing what jobs you're looking for and being able to provide that right away will make you successful because it's just the turnover's high, the burnout's high. But when the door opens, you got to use a cliche, just kick it down and run through it full speed ahead.
I'm curious actually about your perspective on this. How many people have you seen that have unrealistic expectations for their career path? Because I feel like from what you just said, while the NBA is growing in this league specifically 3x, but the number of candidates are growing 10x, how much are the schools or the professors or even the students themselves thinking they have a better chance of getting there because this program is here, right? Like, what's the realistic approach? And do some people have to come down from cloud nine and be like, hey, I got to get a role here. Like, I got to break in somehow. Like, the realistic piece, I'm very curious on your opinion there.
I would say the majority of freshmen and sophomores on most college campuses are delusional about how this could work, right? And I'm gonna explain why, right? You've been very successful working in professional sports, right? If somebody's gonna make a YouTube documentary or blow you up on Instagram, they're gonna show Tanner Natzke, podcast, great career, great track record, successful everywhere he's been, right? They don't cover the 100 other people you went to undergrad with that tried to work in sports and are now, no disrespect to these professions, selling insurance, doing something else, right? And for some people, it's better to do something else. But you and the guest on your show, in my opinion, are the exception, not at all the rule, right? And I think, and then the other thing is it's social media and it's mainstream media, right? We can't stop talking about Brian Cashman and the GMs of the NFL, but there's 100 of those men and women in the whole world, and there's hundreds of thousands of people that they beat out along the way to get there. So yeah, I do think one thing I'm very realistic about. When I talk to our students, I talk about how in my world the roles are so stagnant. There's the same amount of jobs there was 20 years ago, whatever it might be. But there's also more ways to eat all of this than ever before. Like when I was going to college, Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, self-publishing were not things. It was impossible, right? You had to have a job. And now you can do some things that are sports adjacent that you couldn't do 25, 30 years ago. So I think I hate to be like a doom and gloom guy. And the other thing is somebody gets the job with the Yankees. Somebody gets the job with the Phoenix Suns. Like that does exist. It's just harder than most people think it is. So I would never discourage anybody, but I do tell them like it's a long process. It's going to be really hard. And the other thing, at least I think our job is kind of similar in that it's a relatively young profession, right? But people don't really retire. People rarely pass away when they're in a job. So that means you might get a job when you're 25 and keep it for 40 years. I mean, I was thinking my job. I left the job in pro baseball to come to Seton Hall because I grew up a Seton Hall fan. I had a Seton Hall starter jacket when I was a kid, and my family was here. It was a great thing. And I couldn't have been happier because my opinion at the time was, well, a job in pro baseball is great. It's really cool. I like it. But I looked at it two ways. I was 25 at the time, and I was like, am I going to want to be 35 with a wife and kids and be traveling 82 games a year, gone for all of spring training, if you ever make the playoffs, gone for weeks into October and November. And I thought I didn't want to do that, right? And then at the same time, I thought, but the flip side of that is what I meant to say was that job, the job at Seton Hall, the next guy that gets it might stay there for 20 years. So that job might not open again. I can't say I want to do 3 years with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then when I'm ready, I'll take the college job back home. College job might not open. So I always look at it. Anybody that didn't get the job when I got it 20 years ago, they haven't had a shot at it for 20 years. It's a career for some people.
In addition to that, I see a lot of people, and we, with our coaching business, we're starting to gain a little bit of traction, and we're helping people go from wherever they are to where, hopefully a job in the career sports and beyond. We're not just tied to that. From what I see a lot too is people are looking for that perfect role. They're looking for, hey, I want to go with the Pirates, and then in 3 years, then I'll go to Texas because I want to be warmer, and then I'll settle back home in North Carolina. Whatever it is, that's not the reality in our business. Think about it from a professional athlete perspective. It's like coming out of high school and being like, I want to be a pro athlete. Well, guess what? We're going to have to prepare a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of time. And at the end of the day, you're still going to have to be one of the best individuals to make it through every single step. And the hiring process, from what I've seen in my past experiences, people think they can come out of high school as an athlete and go right to the NFL. Not the way it works. You have to prepare. And just like in pro sports, I think people can rationalize that and contextualize that a lot, is not everybody's going to make it. And you're going to have to outwork people. Just because you got a degree in sport and rec management or kinesiology or exercise science, that doesn't mean you deserve anything if you don't put the work in prior.
I totally agree on that. Here's a statistic. I don't know if you've addressed this on your show before, but I bring it up a lot. Like, if you want to work in sports, statistically, you have a better chance of being a player than certain jobs, right?
Wow.
So think about this. In the NFL, for every 100 NFL players, there's 2 or 3 strength and conditioning coaches, right? There's 2 or 3 athletic trainers. There might be a lot of ticket people, but there's 1 or 2 kind of people that run the ticket department. It's not hundreds of people doing that, right? So now I understand the flaw in the logic. You need to hit the genetic lottery to play in the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, whatever it is. But in strictly numbers, there's more players than people doing jobs like me and you do, right? So that's just to let you know how competitive those jobs really are. The one piece of advice I was able to do in my career, which I think if you can make it work is ideal, do the moving around when you're younger. When you graduate college, even if the first job's across the country, someplace you don't want to be, it's much easier to take that leap of faith. You don't have a family, kids, mortgage, roots in any part of the world. And that worked out really well for me, right? I got to move around for about 10 years and then came basically back home for the last 20, which has been really great. But just for example, if you're married to, I only want to work in the LA area, so not that many jobs. And then what are the chances of them coming open exactly when you want it? That maybe the answer for you is to go to Utah for a couple of years, then Minnesota for a couple of years. And now you got a name in the industry, and now you can go back to LA and get a better job.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Obviously, I've gone across the country a couple times, so I couldn't agree more. But I think along to that point, it's opportunity. Like, people are like, hey, I need this job in this area and this team and this opportunity. If you want to work in sports, take an opportunity. Go prove yourself. Get yourself in the building and prove yourself, especially in today's day and age when a lot of these interviews transparently are happening via Zoom or phone call, right? And then in the sales world, 1,000 people are going to apply for each job. 25 of those are going to get actual interviews. And those are all going to be virtual interviews until maybe the last 5 or 10 people. Like, the opportunity is very slim. So if you can get in the building with somebody and you can create relationships in that building, you're going to be able to have a little bit more of an opportunity to continue to grow and continue to get that quote unquote dream job or the best job that you're looking for.
And the other piece of advice I would give, I'm sorry to cut you off, but if I was a younger person, I would take every interview I could. I don't waste people's time. If it's a job you want no part of, don't apply. That's silly, right? That's a waste of every time. But if there's things you're kind of interested in, take as many interviews as you can. It's reps. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. The more you're going to see what the interviewers are looking for. If you feel comfortable, ask for feedback via email at the end of it and see what they're looking for, because I think the idea that we expect college kids to be great at interviewing when they've never interviewed is a crazy idea to me, right? Like, we spend, in the athletics world, take a baseball player. How many batting practice? How many at bats? How much time in the bat? Hundreds of thousands of hours in the batter's box to hit a baseball, and they fail that 7 out of 10 times, right? Now we're going to ask that same kid go on an interview and nail it the first time. How can we expect that to work? So you got to get reps in. And the other thing I say to kids all the time on a college campus is if you take advantage of everything your school offers, you're paying for it already. Go to the writing center. Go to take the computer classes that are not credited. Go to the interview career center. I'm not saying every school has a great program. Yeah, I'm saying anything else. They're probably better places, not great at some places. But you'll lose nothing except for time to have somebody look at your resume, have somebody coach up on an interview process. And then that's the human side of it. And if we're being real in the era we live in now, start leaning into AI and have that world look at your materials and interview tactics and stuff like that. Because if you're not doing it, the people you're interviewing against are. So you got to raise your game the way everybody else is.
In addition to that, and then we're gonna move on because I'm like I love going down this because this is great. In addition to that, everyone out there is like, okay, great, take every interview you can, but I can't get an interview. And like, that's awesome that you're taking every interview. I can't get one. If you're in that situation, you probably have a family member or a friend who is willing to sit across from a table and ask you interview questions, right? We don't need to practice interviews during the actual interview. We actually should not be doing that. We should be preparing beforehand because for us on the business side, I get a chance to close a big deal every now and then. So I'm going to practice big deal conversations and big deal making consistently. You only get a chance to make the game-winning three-pointer every now and then, but you're going to practice it every single day. So when the opportunity does come, you take it. A lot of people right now are like, okay, cool, I finally have an interview. Like, now I should go get some interview help. No, we should be doing this, especially if you're young. We should be doing this early and often. Find somebody across the table, ask AI what a couple interview questions are. Like, you can ask some AI some in-depth questions. They'll spit it out for you. You don't even have to work. Listen, they'll do the work for you. If you want to be lazy, they'll do it for you. But that should be something we're preparing for before we actually get the interview itself.
I'm going to throw one little tip in that too, which I think that's great advice. And I think in the podcast era, you brought me on and said, "Give me your life story," basically, right? Or your career history, whatever it might be. And I think we're used to hearing that on shows. But if you get to meet somebody that's doing the job you want to do, ask them how they got the job. Ask them their career. Ask them what they did, what dots did they connect. Because I always say in my profession, I'll meet young coaches like, "Well, what do you think about this rep scheme, or what do you think about this technology?" All that's great. I want to have a conversation with you. But if you can't figure out how to get paid to do this, none of that matters in your career. So to some extent, what you asked me at some point should be, how did you get this job? Who did you know to get in that door? How did you make it work for you? And again, like, my story is a little dated because it was pre-social media, it was the email era and the flip phone era, right? But some of that stuff probably translates to today. But ask people that are just a couple years ahead of you what they did, and you might want to copy your playbook a little bit.
Hey, I had a flip phone. Those things were cool. And when they came out, the slide ones, you were the real cool kid. If you could just flip that thing and slide it. Yeah. So okay, we have a book. Obviously, you have a couple. I say we. It's not me at all. You. Tell me a little bit about the purpose of writing it, and for everybody listening, go on LinkedIn. He's got some great stuff on there as well. The purpose of writing it and what your goal is to get out of it.
Appreciate that, man. So again, if you want to do that LinkedIn, it's Angelo Gingerelli. You'll see it all over the episode when it drops later. So the last book was called Finish Strong. I'm sorry, that was my first book. The newest book, I got to get better at these promos. So
hey, we're practicing. Look at this. We're practicing right now. This is real life preparation.
so let me rephrase that. The newest book is called The Next 4 Years: Compete, Win, and Thrive in College Sports. And it was born of this idea. For 20 years at Seton, a couple years other places before that, everybody I deal with comes to college unprepared for athletics. College sports is a great time in your life. It might be the best time in your life, but it's physically hard, emotionally hard, socially hard. It's demanding for a bunch of different reasons. And I've dealt with everything from McDonald's All-American basketball players to walk-on swimmers, and everybody's unprepared. So there's a lot of reasons why they're in the book. But it's basically, I took what I've been doing for the last 20 years on my campus and got the information out to everybody else. So about half the book is dedicated to just preparing for college, how to navigate the recruiting process, how to pick a major, what questions to ask on your recruiting trips, stuff like that. And then the second half of the book is basically a 12-week training program to get ready for your first day. So I call it 100 hours in 100 days. It's basically give yourself an hour a day to prepare for 100 days, and you'll show up ready to go that first week on campus. And there's some kind of switch out stuff. There's questions you got to ask your strength coach, your sport coach to get ready. But if you just do some general preparation, you will be the best prepared freshman probably 9 out of 10 times, because most people show up without any level of preparation whatsoever. I think that's kind of the idea. It's been a really fun run so far, and a lot of good feedback on it. And this is the first year it's out, so I'm super interested to see what kind of feedback I get in the fall when people have actually implemented over the spring and summer, and we're seeing some results out there.
I love that. Where can people get the book if they are like, yes, I need to listen to you, which I'm one of them? Like, where can I get it?
Best place is Amazon. Pretty much the best place to buy almost anything these days. It's Amazon.com. Look up Angelo Gingerelli. There's 2 books on there right now. Finish Strong, which is for endurance athletes, and then the next 4 years is the newest one for college athletes.
Also, we are going to, I just decided right now in this moment, we are going to purchase 5 of those books to support, and we're going to give them away. So in the comments below, as we, on the socials that we post this in, post what you're looking to get better at in the next 4 years. It doesn't have to be college. It can be professional life. Comment what you're looking to get better at, and we will purchase 5 of those books, and we'll have our social team choose who can get those, because I want to support. I want to help. I also believe in what you're saying. And also, that's not the end of the podcast. So if you're thinking about turn off, we're still going, and we're going to have some more fun.
That's great, man. Much. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
100%. Tell me a little bit about so we have the book out, right? The next 4 years. What if I'm not a college athlete and I'm going to read this book, right? Then what?
I think a couple things. I think
my camera died, which is cool. We'll just switch to this. That's good. Adapt and keep moving.
I like it.
All right, we're good.
I think the biggest thing you want to look at, kind of the cliche, the freshman 15, and former athletes go to college and get really out of shape because not being forced to work out anymore. I think the biggest thing you get out of the book is, number one, preparing for the college experience of picking a major, doing internships, handling the academic side of things, while integrating some physical activity, right? It could be a lot of fun. It could be a great time, but can you work out a couple days a week? Can you make some pretty good choices in the dining hall? Can you, limit your partying to where it doesn't wreck your health? I think those are all great ideas and great goals that are all accomplishable if you go in with a plan and a playbook. I think it's just easier than if you're going blind and hope everything works out for the best.
I love that. One thing that has changed my life is exercise. I had a strength and conditioning coach, not at my high school, but we actually paid to go to a different one our high school did. And that man is one of my spiritual fathers in my life, but also like strength conditioning. It changed my life because I get up every day that I go to work. I don't get to control anything as soon as I go into the office. Sports happen fast, and they need reaction now. And, I mean, you've seen it in the NBA this year. Like, Luka gets traded. Everybody in the Lakers and Mavs organization, also in other NBA organizations, your day does not look the same. Like, everything that you just had going on doesn't look the same. You have an athlete that gets injured, guess what? Your day doesn't look the same as soon as that happens, right? However, for me, the strength and conditioning part of it, I still call myself an athlete. The athletic part about it is I get to control my first couple hours of the day, and I have more energy because of it. And so if you're going to school or going to your career path, like, listen, this is important stuff. Go get the book, go read it. You can do this for your mind. I say this a lot of time too. People looking to go into career paths from their senior year, we need to start changing our habits, not in May or June. We need to change our habits at the start of the calendar year. Let's say you're going to go get a job in June. Like, we need to start changing our habits start of the calendar year or prior, because you're not going to go from, here's a dig on myself. I used to wake up at like 9:30 or 10 in college. I go to the gym, I come back, eat lunch, nap, then go to school. That was like my last year. I took one class. I got to play baseball next year because of COVID. Took one class. I got my fitness in, but I was waking up at 9:30 every day or 10. That's not going to cut it in the world. So 3 or 4 months prior, I actually started waking up earlier, 15 minutes at a time, and now I'm waking up at 4:55. Like, what can we do in the professional world to start, or what can we do while we're in college to start preparing for the professional world? I think this book is going to have some insight on that as well, and how you can prepare not only physically but mentally as well.
Yeah, I think that's really it. They say dress for the job you want, not the job you have, right? I think prepare and live the lifestyle you want to live before you get there, right? So if that involves waking up early, start doing it now. If it involves the other side of that might be if you're like if used to a 9 to 5 lifestyle, you're getting a job in the NBA in an NBA office somewhere. Now you got night games. Now you got to get ready to be working and productive at 11, 12 o'clock at night and planes and eating out a lot and that kind of thing. So try to prepare for that as best you can, right? You got to be flexible and have some absolutes you don't compromise and do the right things all the time. The other thing I say to people want to work in sports, it's hard. It's physically demanding to be you're in an arena till midnight. Maybe you're back in the front office at 6, 7 in the morning. You're doing planes. You're doing eating on the road. You're dealing with all different personality types. I think the people, if you go into that, just like the players, not conditioned to live that lifestyle, it'll chew you up and spit you out real fast, right? That's the case in college jobs and professional jobs where the travel's hard, the eating's hard, the hotels are hard. So being physically prepared for that, whether that's lifting weights, running, yoga, all of it's great, but prepare your body for the grind because now obviously the players have more of a grind, but everybody at an organization or that campus has somewhat of a grind during certain times of the year. Get yourself ready for it. And the other thing, I've been around for a long time, but the group of people that always crack me up are people that are rabid sports fans, work in sports, and don't do anything physical themselves. I don't understand how you go to work every day in a building with like 80 treadmills and squat racks everywhere, and you don't think, hey, maybe let me give that a try. You know what I mean? The joke, I see you got a Jordan jacket on, so I'll make a sports room joke real quick. About 10, 12 years ago, Seton switched from Adidas to Under Armour, right? So like in 1 week, we just went and had to get rid of everything Adidas, everything's got to be Under Armour. And I'm looking around at some people and I'm like, you might have to handcuff yourself to a treadmill because Under Armour clothes are very unforgiving and it's time to get some abs going and maybe do some push-ups. This stuff is not for everybody. But I like Under Armour. We've had a great relationship with them. The joke I always make is, have you been to Miami?
Yeah.
Okay. Under Armour clothes are like the city of Miami. They're great if you're young, rich, and ripped. It's not for anybody else. But yes, I gotta make big fun of them a little bit, but it's part of the job, man. If you're gonna be around athletic people all the time, you got to be a little athletic, I think, at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Somebody really intelligent said this once, and I'm curious to hear if you know who it is. If you let somebody else control your income, not talking about money, the income, right? You'll never be happy with the outcome. I don't know who exactly was the genius that said it, but it's about what you put into your body. It's about what you put into your habits, into your routine, into your daily mindset practices, because then you get to control the outcome. You get to control how you pour into people, how you help other people as well. I'm not sure if you could put a finger on who said that or not.
I really appreciate you bringing my bars back to me. I don't know if that's ever happened on an interview before, man. I feel really proud right now. Thank you very much. Yeah, but I don't know. I thought about it a year ago, and I just kind of live by it. You know what I mean? And I think it's income, everything you put in your body, everything you put yourself through, and then to some extent, the reason why I thought of it and why I posted a lot is the sports world and sports jobs can be so everybody's on a day-to-day contract, basically, right? So I always say, so that kind of stemmed off into what I developed was the 1 hour rule. And I think no matter how good of a job you think you have, we learned in America in the last decade or so, job security is a lie. In my opinion, it's a complete lie. And the 2 examples I give on that is Bill Belichick, I hate saying this, I'm a lifetime New York Jets fan, is the greatest NFL coach of all time. He got fired by the New England Patriots a couple years ago, right? Not right now, but there's a run in the 2000s. Lil Wayne is the greatest rapper on the planet. He got fired by Cash Money Records. If those 2 dudes could lose their job, Tanner and Angelo can lose their job. Right? So I would say you got to spend 1 hour a day on your physical health, whether that's running, stretching, food, meal prep, whatever it is, and 1 hour a day generating revenue that's not your day job, because your day job can end. So that's what led to the books and the speaking engagements and podcast and all this other stuff. Because my thing is, like, I love what I do. I put 100% of myself into it. But if it ends on Monday, my family's got to eat on Tuesday. So that 1 hour rule has become very valuable and close to my heart in the last couple of years.
We like to be hot on this podcast, and hot is humble, open, and transparent. And I think we talk a lot about things that don't necessarily get shared a lot. And this is one of them that you just mentioned. Your job, not secure. I had a really good job in Miami. I humbly was one of the top individuals there on the team, which you see a helmet behind me, you see a couple of rewards behind me. That's cool. That's great. As soon as my wife, my now wife, and I decided to leave the city, they could backfill my position pretty quickly. And they did.
Yeah.
They did, right? And that's where you are replaceable. Unless you're Steph Curry, you are replaceable. Maybe he's replaceable too. I don't know. You have more insight on that than me. But especially in the sports industry, you want to get deep and throw some stuff that people haven't heard before. The sports industry will chew you up and spit you out. And if you're not doing what Angelo is talking about right now and preparing your mind and body, going to do something 1 hour every day, health wise, 1 hour every day as kind of the side hustle type of activity, somebody's going to come behind you, because every time a logo gets flashed, every time, oh my goodness, there's a job at Seton Hall that opens up. Oh my goodness, there's a job here and there that opens up with a sports logo. 1,000 people are applying for it. And they're going to find somebody to backfill. So what are you doing to, one, get ahead, but then two, once you're in the building, what are you doing to stay at the top of your game mentally and physically? Because somebody can come in right behind you and take that place.
Yeah, man, no question. It's just the world we live in. And like I said, I think guys like me and you that have made a career of it, there's a lot of good parts to it. There's no replacement for game day or game night. You can't buy that experience. People buy that experience, right? They save up money to buy a ticket to something we get to do every couple nights. That's an amazing work environment. That's really cool, right? And I think the if you were an athlete when you're younger, the ebb and flow of competition and the way a season goes, and we're all of us are on the same page trying to beat all of them, whoever it is, I think is awesome. And then in my perspective, on my world, it's seeing kids get better, right? It's seeing a freshman come in, it's a boy or a girl, and they graduate a man or a woman, and they go about and be so productive adults in the world. And your side of things is probably the revenue side of things, right? We sold 80 season ticket packages last year. Now we sold 800. You see it, the value of what you do, build and grow. But you're building it. We're both building a product for somebody else. So at some part of the day, you got to build something for yourself and your family. But that being said, if you're being paid, your employer deserves the best of you. But then you got to save some for your family and yourself as well.
I could not agree more. This has been awesome. And I have a couple other things for you. One, I want to learn from you. What did I miss? What have people that they're listening right now? What have I not asked? If you were sitting across the table, what would you be asking? How can we continue to provide value for everybody listening where I haven't asked that question yet?
And I think you guys are killing it, man. I think you have a really great show, great format. Starting off with my life story, my career story, I think that's great. And then, maybe just in the show notes or whatever, give some links to the places I've been able to contact me. I think that'd be great. But I think the only other thing I say to people is, the piece of advice, and I've given it already: be prepared, think ahead, and think long term. And then ideally know what you're up against, right? Try to get you watch film on the team you're going to play next week. Figure out what the career you want looks like, and start setting those ducks in a row as soon as you can.
I love that. Last question for you today, and I enjoy ending it this way. Obviously, the name of the podcast, Attitude, Effort, Results. What does attitude, effort, results mean to you right now?
Okay. Attitude for me at this point in my life means being cautiously optimistic about everything I'm involved in, right? And what I mean by that is if you're 20, you should probably look at the sky is the absolute limit, right? I'm gonna be a GM of a team. I'm gonna sell 1 million books. I'm gonna whatever that means. I'm gonna be a billionaire by 30. You should probably look that way, right? As you get a little older, maybe some doors close. And I think if you go into everything like just pie-eyed optimistically, if that's your attitude, you're gonna be disappointed a lot, right? But I'll give you an example. So my realistic goal for this year, I put the book out last year. I want to do 50 podcasts. That's my goal. Attitude, Effort, Results is number 29. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be super happy when I do it. I'm more than halfway there, right? Now, if my goal's 500, I'm probably gonna be very disappointed. So I think your attitude's got to be. I think when you're younger, exceedingly optimistic, unrealistic, and as you get a little bit older, temper your expectations a little bit, and then go crush those goals when you can. Right? Effort, I think, is you got to give everything you're doing the best you can when you can. Right? I referenced earlier periodizing your life. So, example, in my world, there's times of the year I cannot work on a book. I can't promote a book. I'm doing Seton athletics 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, right? Now, there's certain times of the year I'm in the weight room maybe 3 hours a day. Most of the student athletes are at home, and now I'm writing the next book. Now I'm negotiating next publishing deal. Now I'm booking podcasts. And I've been in one place long enough to understand the ebb and flow of that cycle to kind of periodize my life and put the effort where it can be at the time and give that thing 100% effort and focus and intensity, right? And then results, I think you gotta focus on what you can control, right? So we're talking about books. You control if you write a book by the deadline you or the publisher gave yourself, right? You decide whether you go lock in and get the book out. Now, after that, you got to commit to, I'm going to sell as many copies as I can, many shows as I can, much social media interaction as I can. But to some extent, that's much harder to control. So you got to be realistic about what you can control and deliver on that, right? And then figure out some ways to make it successful beyond that and do as best you can, but realize to some extent it's a shot in the dark, and not everything you do is going to result in sales, financial gain, positive improvement, but you got to be trying to figure out the next best result that you can at the time.
I love it. Well, have you thought about starting your own podcast? I know you want to get on 50. Have you thought about starting your own?
During COVID, I have my family's pretty close. I had a cousin that was in his 20s, a cousin in his 30s, and I was in my early 40s. It was called Me and My Cousins, and we would interview people from like 3 different perspectives. So like one dude was like still raging, partying. The other guy was engaged, and I was married with a kid. So it was a pretty good thing. But man, they got busy when the world opened back up, and they kind of backed away from it. So it might be something I would definitely look at. But I'm just super busy with everything else in my life right now.
I love it. You'd be great on it. The energy that you have, and also the passion towards helping others, because a lot of people that have come on the show, because we hand select who comes on, right? And we're very particular. We're blessed to have a lot of people reach out, and we want to provide value. A lot of people are like, hey man, so I'd really like my face on camera. Can I be interviewed? Not you. You're like, hey, I have some value to the world. I want to share the value. Like, let me get on and create value for people.
I really appreciate that. I'll give you one thing that I've kind of leaned into the last couple of years. I think as we get older, right, and the sports industry will burn you out real quick, as we talked about before, we get jaded, we get tired, we get less excited about life, right? And I think if you can get to 30, 40, 50, 60 years old and still be excited about things, and whatever, I'm excited to root for my team. I'm excited my favorite musician's putting out about it. I'm excited to go to dinner with my wife, whatever it is. You're going to be in a much better spot long term than people that are just punching the clock and going through it. And I always say, I don't know if I'm like ragingly immature, but I still get like super excited to do stuff that my friends just can't even fathom. So I think that the key is to be curious and still like get amped up when cool things happen and lean into that as best you can. So I think sports keeps you younger too. Like I always joke around like, I'm much older than you, but for some reason, the Playboy Cardi album has come up in my life like 20 times today on campus. And like, why would I ever be in that conversation? But it's because I'm with all young kids, so that's the talk we have in the weight room. You know what I mean? So if you stay around some young people and be engaged, I think that's a better way to go through life.
I love that. I'll come home sometimes, and I generally have a decent amount of energy. I'll come home, my wife's like, can you leave me alone for like 3 minutes? Like I just got home. I'm like, hey, how you doing? How's your day? Like, what's going on? Can I have a hug? Can I have a kiss? And she's like, I need 3 minutes. Like, give me a break. But it's the energy that I have. I'm like, I want to see my wife. Like, I haven't seen her all day. And I love that. The energy. Go find something you're passionate about. For those who listen, it doesn't have to be your day job. It doesn't have to be exactly what you do. Go find something that you're passionate about and put energy into that, because I promise you, it gives energy back every time. And you have opportunities to meet people like Angelo and have conversations like this.
Hey, man, thank you so much. This was a blast. Social media, Angelo Gingerelli on LinkedIn, angelo.gingerelli@gmail.com, and Instagram is MR5THRUND. This was awesome, man. This is a blast. Thank you so much.
You bet. Well, Attitude Up for Results community, let's inspire others and continue to grow together.